Good morning, Dr. Dave. What a pleasure it is to have an opportunity to chat with you today about
Absolutely the
all the
same, Cody.
exciting things that we see happen in student coaches' lives as they learn coaching. Maybe to kick us off, I'd love to hear your thoughts about the developmental stages that you experience when someone's going through the course and trying to become a proficient coach.
Well, thanks. One is the kind of trainees that we see in the ways that people decide to become coaches. And I think we're seeing some similar and some different things with the happenings in the last couple of years. There are basically three areas of the coaches who I train. One are people who want to make a total transformation into professional coaching from another career or business. Another is who want to add a parallel track to do coaching in addition to what they're doing and do both. And a third, probably more executive and HR, but people who want to simply add skills, tools, and methods from coaching to enhance their communication and their performance. And then we can talk about the evolution of the individual coach over time, but I'm curious about your thoughts too about exactly what we're talking about, what you're seeing.
Yes, when I hear you say the evolution over time, it reminds me that I acknowledge early in the course that everyone who's come into it, they have something in common. They care about helping people, and they probably have developed some helping skills along the way before they signed up for the class. And I encourage them to think about embracing becoming a novice while they learn a new toolkit, a new way of being helpful through the skills of professional coaching. I find with adult learners and their development, it seems to really help to have a point in time at the beginning to make this invitation. Could you embrace becoming a novice, learn something new, and add some new tools to your tool belt?
Absolutely. And one of the things that I predict with each trainee and each group is that the biggest challenge will be to move to a model of coaching that's based on a collaborative model, because we've been accustomed to giving advice and answering questions for all of our lives, probably from at least the time of memory going forward. And it's so hard to shift to a different way, and especially a different way of conversation, because we have a unique model in coaching among all the professions. All the other professions are a consultancy where you bring issues, questions, or a problem, talk about it, get some questions, and then the expert, the consultant, gives advice. We do it very differently from the beginning, and our model is one of collaboration, that we co-create a new story. And we have to help shape and guide that because we're hardwired to have conversations in a free associative method. We talk in paragraphs and take turns and wait for the other, but we do things very different in coaching to really further a meaningful conversation that can help a client focus on developing a system and knowing what's next, because that's what we need to do if we want to change, not just focus on the goal, but focus on a system. That's what we do in coaching. That's what we do with the map that we co-create each session.
So good. I'm having flashbacks, Dr. Dave, of when I was in training back in 2017. And I remembered feeling a little skeptical about learning some new tricks. I was aspirational about being able to bring more value to my existing client base and some new ones. But I remember having a breakthrough when I finally decided to trust the simple coaching model and the premise that if I could help somebody get in touch with raising their self-awareness, it would lead to an internal shift that would be much more powerful in their lives and helping them move forward than simply giving them more information. And it's been a joy as an instructor to watch others experience that very same breakthrough for themselves.
Absolutely. In our very conversations with a client, as we do with trainees and teaching them this, is that we're establishing a model about how to look at something, how to create a system, and they're downloading that model of how we approach something and having a map which tells us where we are, where we're going, how to measure progress, what's deviation and distraction. And that is useful for them the other 7 days and 23 hours that they're not working with us, because it begins a new model. So this is really the development of a new model to teach our trainees how to help clients do that, which can make a major difference for the rest of their lives.
It's so good. It's so good. I love hearing you explain it like that. I wonder, when you think about how all this applies to executive coaching, either someone who's in training to become an executive coach, or maybe even the way we think about our executive coaching clients, how does all of this come to bear upon that context, do you think?
A couple of ways, and I'm also curious about your thoughts, because I know you do some work in this way. In the areas where things are unscripted and unprecedented, like in the last couple of years, the COVID crisis, or as we see with clients who achieve remarkable or extreme success, they have no model of how to handle that, how to self-regulate, how to deal with money and fame. So often working with executives is to help them look at and understand the context of each of the people they're looking at simultaneously, the person across from them, the managers, the group. So it's really an understanding of what's going to facilitate individual and group stories. So it's the same process, it's just applied in a somewhat different context. Now, a simple measurement that has been applied to executive coaching is return on investment. There have been 4 studies that have shown that an average return on investment is 6 to 1. For every $1 invested, there's $6 return on that. But that only measures one metric. There are other things: well-being, relationship, performance, self-management, self-regulation. All of those are appropriate and necessary for the executive. And if you think about it, it's not that different than in individual working in life coaching and wellness coaching, working in certain areas, recovery coaching, money story, any number of things. It's very, very similar. So for the coach, if you ask, instead of what does the world need, you can ask, what makes you come alive? And then where might that be? Apply.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. So when I think about some of my favorite executive coaching, I have a particular client that comes to mind who's the poster child for it. And in this case, his company gave him a budget and said, you go find yourself a coach. We want to invest in you as a person. It wasn't principally driven by a performance metrics. This person was very valuable to their company. And of course, they believed that if they invested in coaching in him, his performance would rise. But because he's more than a human doing, he's a human being, he would become enriched in other aspects of his life as well. And I really enjoy that kind of executive coaching. And ultimately, this client wanted to win at work and succeed at home. And so there was a well-rounded number of things that we talked about with him in coaching as an executive. But in many respects, the things I've observed over the years about human development, while they may come with different titles and challenges, the developmental part of both the coachee and the coach, there's a through line I think we can track and really appreciate the value of.
That's a great point. Just to say that just slightly differently, our specialty as coaches is change, our expertise is choice architecture, and our framework is collaboration with others. And that has its application in a systematic way with individuals, couples, groups, or executives. So there's a whole wealth of common ground that we do in coaching for application in a number of ways.
That was such a great way to put that. I love it. So as we've been thinking about the developmental stages that our student coaches are going through and learning to trust a new way, I know we have a separate video that addresses imposter syndrome, but certainly it's a contributing factor to helping somebody really set down what they think they know and pick up something new and become proficient. What would be a story or two, or some of the factors involved, do you think, of really helping somebody experience a breakthrough and trusting something new?
Well, here's an experience that every coach shares And it also happens to be the same experience every one of their clients shares when they engage change, because every step in a new or different way brings with it a bit of discomfort, a recognition that this is not what I'm accustomed to. The brain even says, hey, the error detection mechanism says this is not what I expect. So if that discomfort is framed as a mistake or as anxiety, then better head back for cover, because our brains can't tell the difference between anxiety and excitement. So if we frame it as anxiety, that's all we need to do. We head for cover. If we frame it as excitement, opportunity, challenge, then we take a next step and recognize that as validation that we're moving ahead into new territory. It's a signpost of change to embrace. So as the coaches become accustomed to this, as they're beginning different ways of having conversations and actually guiding conversations and asking powerful questions instead of bringing closure by giving answers or solutions, then that will be a model they have that can be passed on as a way of rewiring and creating a new model for our clients, because that's what's going to last past us, is the model they develop about how to approach something and how to carry on ultimately without us, which is the end in mind in the beginning, to not need us.
Dr. Dave, I really appreciate those insights. I resonate with them. I can't wait to go back to my own classes with some of the things that I've been inspired to think about today because of our conversation. It's been so great to be with you this morning.
It was super to do this with you, Cody. I'm glad we did. Thanks very much.